Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont. Time for a channel update. Quite a lot's going on right now. Two main things though. I am buying and moving into an apartment, and I'm leaving my MCN, that is, multi-channel network. On that first note, well, as I'm sure many of you know, moving home is one thing, buying a place is something more on top of that. Getting a foot on the property ladder is becoming increasingly difficult these days, and a lot of people from older generations underestimate it. Likewise, then you have people who are living in, say, the middle of Scotland, surrounded by 500 miles of emptiness in every direction, and they go, oh, it's easy to get a cheap house, I only paid £5 for this place, when it's really not comparable at all. But you know, if you live in England, in the southeast in particular, you probably have an idea of what I'm talking about. Or hell, if you live in somewhere like New York City. For the sake of comparison, 1-bedroom apartment I'm getting costs the same as quite a nice 3-bedroom townhouse in a nice area of Virginia. Which is a little vexing, but, you know, nothing you can really do about that. That's just how property prices go. It just bugs me when someone's like, geez, I don't know why you're complaining. I bought my first house when I was 15 and it cost me $10. It's like, okay, that's nice. Go and find me a house that costs $10 if it's that easy. Even when you account for inflation, property prices now are utterly obscene compared to when, you know, our parents' generations were buying back in, I don't know, the 60s, 70s, 80s. But yeah, moving's a bit of a hassle, but I'm looking forward to it. But what does that mean for you as a viewer of the channel? Honestly, hopefully not much. Not sure how internet is going to be at this new place yet. Hopefully it will be an upgrade. Don't know how long it will take to get it all set up and everything, but we'll see. Hopefully there'll be no breaks in production. I'm also hoping I'll have a better setup for streaming on, say, Twitch, for example. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I prefer pre-made content. I prefer uploading things to YouTube ahead of time than I do doing stuff live. I know a lot of people love watching stuff live. I personally don't, so part of it is I don't really see the appeal in it. Whereas when I watch YouTube, I'm usually watching things that are, you know, pre-made and pre-uploaded. So that's what I like. I'm being very solipsism. It's like, oh, well, I don't like it, so how do other people like it? But no, I get that other people like it, and some people even like watching me stream. But yes, I prefer doing YouTube, and that's going to remain my focus. So I'm not planning to abandon YouTube and move over to streaming, but I am hoping to stream a little more. I just want to emphasize that streaming more doesn't mean I'll be doing less YouTube. I'll just be using more of my otherwise free time to stream. As for the multi-channel network, well, I joined Machinima in 2013 and that was a mistake. Machinima were bought out by Fullscreen a couple months back. The only reason I hadn't already left is I was a partnered channel with Machinima, and, well, to briefly explain it, there's 2 levels of YouTube channels if you're, you know, a YouTube partner or in a network. There's affiliate and partner. Being partnered allowed you to bypass some of the Content ID scanning, and Content ID system is horrible. It benefits nobody apart from copyright trolls and giant companies that can afford to manually do this, but they don't want to. So YouTube has been effectively forced to implement this horrible system that automatically scans everything, and it doesn't work at all, by the way. Okay, it works a bit. It works in like 2% of the situations, where say you upload Avengers Endgame to YouTube, it will probably detect that, unless you, I don't know, get around it. But there is so many horrible flaws in this Content ID system, but again, you can't really blame YouTube for it, because they have to effectively bend over to these giant corporations like Disney, Fox, or whoever, who are like, oh no, we don't want to spend money protecting our own intellectual properties, we want you to do it for us. These giant companies, they could pay someone to just spend all day going on YouTube and looking for legitimate sort of, you know, copyright infringement, like people literally uploading movies without permission or whatever. But I could talk about Content ID and all that horrible stuff for like 5 hours, but I'm not going to. But yeah, YouTube decided that partners are no longer allowed to do that. I mean, YouTube decided, maybe it was someone else, but it's resulted in some funny situations where, say, I don't know, let's just say Warner Brothers, for example, they upload a trailer for, I don't know, Godzilla, and then they get hit with a content ID thing from themselves. But yeah, so now nobody's allowed to bypass the content ID. I mean, maybe the super duper fancy people, but no sort of general users are allowed to. Machinima decided they don't want to be held responsible for people in their network, because it means they aren't getting money for literally offering nothing in exchange. Then Fullscreen brought him out and I decided there's no reason for me to be giving away 10% of my earnings, my earnings which aren't very high to begin with, to a company that offers me nothing in exchange that I couldn't get anyway. Oh, originally, by the way, it was almost half of the money I made. It was more like 40% than 10% that Machinima would take. What did they give in exchange for effectively half the money I was making? Some royalty-free music. You can find royalty-free music on the internet anyway. Everything else they offered was effectively nothing. They would say like, we'll offer you in-depth analytics that you get on YouTube anyway. We'll offer you useful partner tools, like, what, a community-run forum? No, it was a scam. The only reason I managed to get a better contract than that 40%, and if you're wondering why I originally agreed to that 40%, it's because they used very deceptive, if not outright lies, saying like, oh yeah, no, we'll do all these things for your channel, we'll like help promote you, we'll help like manage your channel, we'll help deal with any like copyright issues, all that sort of dangerous stuff, we'll get you the best like advertising, CPM stuff, so you don't need to worry about any of that, you can just focus on making videos. Yeah, no, they don't do any of that. I mean, not for me. Not for 99% of their members. Only for like the top 5 channels in their network who are making like a bajillion views. So yeah, the only reason I managed to get a better contract is because I effectively went through a 99 stage boss gauntlet of badgering different people at Machinima. You know, I would contact the customer support and they'd be like, and then I do it again, they'd be like, I'd be like, here are the points in the contract, which, you know, I don't know that much about law, but I feel like if you sign a contract, you are kind of bound to that contract, especially if you are the one that wrote it. And they were breaking like 4 or 5 different points in this contract, so I felt quite justified in complaining about it. Like, yes, in my defense, yes, I was stupid to agree to it in the first place. But I didn't break the contract. They did, multiple ways, so I kept badgering them about it. Eventually, I was, you know, going through like LinkedIn profiles. I was finding anyone who worked at Machinima, like, you know, CEOs, whatever. I was emailing all of them, every single one, because, you know, contacting the like partner support people was doing nothing. They would just be like, your contract will expire in blah 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 months. Please wait until then if you have a problem with it. So, you know, when you go above them, when you start badgering everyone and anyone, that's when I got results. So one of them was like, hey, you can't mass email people in the company. And I was like, that's where you're wrong. I can. It got results. But hey, that's all in the past. I don't want to rant about it more than I have already, but believe me, I could. This was the cause of so much stress for me back in like 2013 and 14. It was, you know, keeping me up at night, and, you know, I was like having to like contact legal advice people, and all because they didn't want to do the bare minimum. They were breaking YouTube's own sort of conditions and guidelines for MCNs, which is do not aggregate as many channels as you can without offering anything. That's what they were doing. But they're gone now. What a surprise that a rubbish company has died. It's baffling, really, isn't it? And then when they did go down, by the way, they basically nuked everything on all their Machinima channels. So a lot of really good videos, not made by Machinima, by the way, made by people who were partnered with Machinima and uploaded on Machinima, all those videos are gone, unless the people who originally made them had backups. yeah, that was really nice, just nuke everything. Suffice to say, it's almost never worth getting into a multi-channel network on YouTube, unless you're someone who has so many subscribers they're going to appoint like a manager specific to your channel who will do things for you. You know, if you have like 1 million subscribers, I don't even know if they would do it for 1 million anymore, but you know, if you're like one of the top YouTubers, maybe a network is good for you. If you're like the 99.9% of people on YouTube, you won't have that. They'll just be taking your money in exchange for, well, questionable benefits, so avoid it. I made a mistake in signing a contract because I was new to YouTube. I didn't really think about it. I was naive when they said they wanted to, you know, help grow my channel and all that stuff. I was silly enough to think they saw some sort of potential there, which they didn't. They just saw potential money for them, like pocket change for them. But hey, if you steal like 1,000 kids' pocket money, you'll be rich, probably. But oh well. So now my channel is free. Now, granted, YouTube itself still takes, I don't know, almost 50% of the revenue generated by your videos, but you don't necessarily see that. If you go into your YouTube analytics and say you made £100 in a month, that is after YouTube has taken, you know, their cut. So you probably made more like £200. They've always done that, and it's their platform, so it's something I can tolerate, you know? It makes sense that the platform holders get a cut. It doesn't make sense that someone gets the cut just for branding your videos or something. Now, obviously, YouTube itself has problems. I would love for them to improve, but I don't think they're going to, because, you know, they are always having to bend over to please giant companies and advertisers, but it's still a good platform in essence. You know, YouTube was meant to be this user-driven thing, and, you know, it is kind of user-driven still, but the giant companies have their fingers jabbing into it, trying to control it, because, you know, they have to control everything. Ooh. But what does leaving the network mean for me? Ultimately, we'll have to see. It's too soon to say right now. I mean, if I was making the exact same amount of money on my videos in that hypothetical situation, then I'd be getting, you know, 10% more, because I wouldn't be giving 10% of it away. And then there's also the currency conversion that I'd have to make on top of that, because my network would pay me in dollars, and then I would have to convert it from dollars, you know, into my native currency. For one, the exchange rate didn't favour me from dollar to sterling. And then there was also, because it was done via like PayPal, say you go to convert $1 and it gets you 50p. If you did it via PayPal, you'd get like 30p, because, you know, they were also taking a cut. So I'll also be getting a slightly better deal there in theory, because I think YouTube can just do it, you know, in my local currency straight to my bank account. I'm not entirely sure how that works yet. But then again, 1 month on YouTube, I might make $400. The next, I might make $600. Overall, I don't know if earnings will go up or down, because, you know, it's dependent on so many factors. Either way though, I'm glad to be out from the network. It's going to be nice to have a place that I own to live in. Sort of. I mean, it's a leasehold, but it's better than renting. If you're American and you don't really understand leaseholds, I don't blame you, because they are stupid. But effectively, I am buying this maisonette, this 1-bedroom apartment, but it will be a leasehold. So my lease will last, say, 90 years or whatever. Then after that, I would have to either extend the lease or sell the property. And then also every year I have to pay, not rent, but I forget, was it like service charge? Which it's not like too much to pay, but it's still something. And yeah, leaseholds aren't good. They are an outdated, horrible idea, and if you're American and thinking that sounds really stupid, either we rent or we buy here, yeah, you don't have as stupid of a system as we have here. Leaseholds benefit nobody apart from the, not the leaseholder, because that will be me, the person who is owning the actual building itself. It's dumb, it's stupid. But ultimately, it doesn't mean too much for you guys, the viewers. There's a chance my video schedule might get a little disrupted whilst I am moving everything from one place to the other and trying to set up internet. My bills and everything will be going up considerably, but you know, at least they won't be monthly rent to pay or anything like that. So it's more of a long-term improvement, I guess. Let's just see how it pans out though, right? In the meantime, thanks for watching and supporting me. If you do feel like giving me infinite amounts of money, or indeed finite amounts of money, go check out my Patreon or PayPal links. Patreon if you want to be rewarded for your investments. PayPal if you are just loaded or want to do it more sort of anonymously, or you don't like Patreon. Sometimes I don't like Patreon very much. I like the idea of Patreon, but they do some kind of wacky things there. But as for me, I have to go now and file my taxes, which is definitely my favourite part of the year. Ciao.